Today on the Music Fix podcast, we're going to talk about the acquisition of Downtown Music Holdings by Virgin Music Group. A division of Universal Music Group has raised concerns about the future of the independent music industry.
Welcome. Today, we're going behind the scenes of the independent music world to kind of unpack, you know how those killer tunes go from like the artist all the way to your ears.
Right.
We've got a few news articles here that chart the wild ride independent music has been on, from multi-million-dollar deals to people literally saying that there's a land grab happening by some of these big giants of the industry.
Yeah.
You might be surprised at how much these like behind the scenes power plays actually affect
For sure.
the music that you listen to every single day.
Oh, yeah. It's a fascinating story. And I think a good place to start is back in 2019 with CD Baby.
Okay.
Remember them?
Yeah.
The name practically synonymous with independent music distribution. They were acquired by Downtown Music Holdings for a cool $200 million.
Okay, $200 million. That's a lot of dough. But like, how big of a deal was CD Baby back then?
They were huge,
Yeah.
boasting over 900,000 artists and pulling in over $100 million in 2018 alone.
Wow.
That's a significant chunk of the revenue
Yeah.
generated by independent artists globally at that time.
So downtown wasn't messing around.
Yeah.
What was the thinking? What was their kind of game plan behind snapping up such a big fish?
I think this acquisition really signaled a major shift in the music industry.
Okay.
A consolidation trend that was just starting to brew downtown, traditionally known for their music publishing catalog.
Yeah.
With iconic songs like Summertime and Imagine.
Right.
Was making a strategic move to position themselves as a one-stop shop for music creators.
So not content with just holding the rights to the classics, they wanted a piece of the future of music.
Exactly. And it really speaks volumes about the changing dynamics of the industry.
Yeah.
This move highlights the growing power and the revenue potential of independent artists, especially those who are taking the reins and like self-releasing their music.
Yeah, makes sense. But fast forward to late 2024, and the picture's not quite as rosy.
Right.
We see news about layoffs at CD Baby as Downtown restructures and consolidates.
Right.
So what happened? Did the self-releasing revolution fizzle out?
Not quite. While there were layoffs at CD Baby, it's crucial to understand this was happening across the industry.
Okay.
DistroKid, a competitor to CD Baby, also laid off a good chunk of their staff.
Wow.
Even the giants, Universal Music Group and Warner Music Group, were streamlining with hundreds of positions being cut.
So it sounds like everyone was feeling the squeeze.
Yeah.
Was this just a cost-cutting measure?
Yeah.
Or is there something bigger at play?
It was definitely a period of significant change for the industry. Streaming had completely reshaped how people consume music.
Right.
And this had a massive impact on how revenue was generated. These companies were adapting, trying to find their footing in a new landscape.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Instead of relying on album sales, artists are now earning revenue based on individual streams.
I see. So even though artists were gaining more control over their music, the industry itself was undergoing a major upheaval.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And these layoffs, while unfortunate, were part of that larger process of adaptation. But that wasn't the end of the story.
Okay.
Just as things seemed to be settling down, December 2024 brought a bombshell announcement.
Okay.
Universal Music Group, through their Virgin Music Group, was buying Downtown Music Holdings.
And for how much you ask?
Yeah.
A whopping $775 million.
Big money.
Wow.
It was a massive deal, especially considering that Universal had also recently fully acquired PIAS Group, another major player in the independent music world.
Wow. Talk about a power move.
Yeah.
So Universal was on a shopping spree, gobbling up these independent music companies left and right. But not everyone was thrilled about it, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Impala Europe's Association for Independent Labels cried foul,
Okay.
calling it a land grab,
Right.
and accusing Universal of trying to monopolize the independent music market.
Wow.
Martin Mills, the founder of Beggars Group, even went so far as to compare Universal to a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Ooh. Shots fired.
Yeah.
But this is more than just corporate drama, right?
Right.
What are the potential real-world consequences of this mega deal?
Yeah.
Could it actually change the music we hear on the radio or streaming services?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Impala argues that this acquisition significantly reduces the options independent artists have for getting their music out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember that these options were already limited due to previous consolidations in the industry.
So how exactly are independent artists' options limited?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
We're talking about everything from physical distribution and getting your music pressed on vinyl to securing placement on digital platforms and playlists.
Right.
It also impacts their ability to negotiate fair deals with streaming services, which, as we discussed, have become the dominant force in music consumption.
I see. So it's not just about getting the music made.
Right.
It's about navigating this complex system to actually get it heard.
Exactly. And Impala worries that with fewer players in the game, there's less competition
Right.
and less incentive for these companies to offer favorable terms to artists.
So less competition could mean less leverage for independent artists.
That's the concern. They worry it could stifle innovation
Yeah.
and ultimately concentrate too much power in the hands of one corporation.
Okay.
And that raises some pretty big questions about the future of independent music.
This is where it gets interesting. We're talking about potential impacts on artistic freedom, the diversity of music, even the very definition of independent in the industry.
Yeah,
Let's unpack this further because there are a lot of layers here.
totally.
Yeah.
There are
There are a lot of layers here.
a lot of layers.
We're going to get into it more after the break.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating to consider like the long-term
Yeah.
implications of this consolidation. Will it lead to like a homogenization of sound? Will we see fewer artists taking risks?
You know, it feels like we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
On one hand, streaming has opened doors for independent artists.
For sure.
Giving them unprecedented access to a global audience. They can connect directly with fans and build their own followings without needing a major label.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are more tools and resources available to them than ever before.
Right.
From online distribution platforms to social media marketing strategies. Independent artists have more control over their careers than ever before.
Right. It's empowering.
It is.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
you have these massive companies like Universal
Right.
wielding enormous power.
Yeah.
And that power could be used to shape the musical landscape in ways that benefit them. Yeah. Not necessarily the artists or the listeners.
That's a valid concern. And to understand why this is such a big deal,
Yeah.
we have to look back to the success independent artists were already having. Remember back in 2018, self-releasing independent artists generated over $643 million in revenue.
Wow. 643 million.
That is huge.
That's huge.
Exactly. That figure, which comes from Media Research,
Okay.
speaks volumes about the economic power of the independent music sector. These artists were proving that they didn't need the traditional label system
Right.
to succeed.
Yeah.
They were building their own empires.
So these artists are a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
But if these acquisitions continue
Yeah.
and their options for distribution and marketing become more limited,
Right.
will they still be able to thrive? Will new artists have the same opportunities?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's a complex issue with valid arguments on both sides. Some people actually argue that consolidation can benefit independent artists.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear how that works.
Okay.
How could less competition be better for artists?
Well, larger companies like Universal
Yeah.
often have more resources to invest in marketing and promotion,
Okay.
which can help artists reach a wider audience.
Right.
They also have more leverage in negotiating with streaming services and other platforms.
Okay.
An independent artist on their own might not have the clout to get featured on a major playlist,
Right.
for example.
Yeah.
But being part of a larger company could open those doors.
I see. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Artists might gain access to resources, connections, and a bigger platform,
sure.
but potentially sacrifice some control and independence in the process.
Precisely. And this whole debate about consolidation and acquisition
Right.
brings up a bigger issue.
Okay.
The balance of power in the music industry is it tilting too far in favor of the major players.
Right. It's like we're witnessing a power struggle,
Yeah.
and the outcome could have a huge impact on the music we hear and the artists who create it.
For sure.
It's not just about economics either. It's about creative freedom, artistic expression, and the diversity of the music we listen to.
Exactly. If a few companies like Universal, Sony, and Warner control a majority of the market, it could have a ripple effect on the types of music that get made and promoted.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Okay.
If you're an artist and you know that a certain type of music is more likely to get picked up by a major label or playlist curator,
Right.
you might be more inclined to create music that fits that mold.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The system favors a certain sound.
Yeah.
So artists start creating that sound to get noticed.
Right.
It makes sense from a business perspective, but it could lead to a less diverse and interesting musical landscape.
Precisely. And that's why organizations like Impala are so vocal about protecting independent routes to market.
Okay.
They see it as essential for fostering a diverse and vibrant music ecosystem.
So for Impala, it's not just about protecting independent labels.
Right.
It's about protecting the entire creative landscape of music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They argue that a healthy independent sector benefits everyone.
Okay.
Artists, listeners, and even the major labels themselves. After all, the majors often rely on the independent sector to discover and develop new talent.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Many of the biggest stars today got their start on independent labels.
It's like a farm system for the music industry.
It is.
The indies nurture the talent, and then the majors come in and sign the artists once they've proven themselves. So there's this symbiotic relationship that keeps the whole system flowing.
Yeah.
But if that balance is disrupted, it could have far-reaching consequences, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just limited to the music industry. We're seeing these same dynamics play out in other creative industries as well. Film, publishing, even video games.
Wow.
Consolidation and the concentration of power are trends we're seeing across the board.
So it's a bigger issue than just music.
It is.
It's about who controls the stories we hear, the art we see,
Right.
the games we play.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what can be done. Is there any way to push back against this trend of consolidation?
Well, awareness is a good first step.
Okay.
The more people understand the issues,
Yeah.
the more likely they are to support policies and practices that promote fairness and competition.
Like antitrust regulations that prevent monopolies
Exactly.
and support for independent businesses and artists through grants and funding initiatives.
Exactly. But consumers also have a role to play.
Okay.
You don't have to be a lawyer or a politician to make a difference. By choosing to support independent artists and businesses,
Yeah.
you can help level the playing field.
It's like voting with your wallet.
It is.
Every time you buy an album directly from an artist,
Yes.
go to an independent artist's concert or stream music on a platform that pays artists fairly,
Yeah.
you're making a statement.
Exactly. Every purchase, every stream, every concert ticket is a statement of support.
Yeah.
You have the power to choose where your money goes and who you want to support.
It's empowering to think that we, as music lovers,
It is.
actually have that much influence.
Yeah.
We may not be CEOs or music industry executives,
Right.
but our choices matter.
They do.
We're not just passive consumers. They're active participants in shaping the future of music.
Absolutely. And that's the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
The future of music is not predetermined. It's something we're all actively shaping through our choices and actions.
Yeah.
Whether we're artists, listeners, or industry professionals,
Right.
we all have a stake in this.
And by understanding the forces at play, these acquisitions, the power dynamics, the challenges and opportunities facing independent artists, we can work towards a future where music is created and enjoyed by everyone, not just a select few.
I couldn't agree more. It's easy to feel powerless when you see these massive corporations making these huge deals.
Right.
But it's important to remember that we're not just along for the ride. We have agency.
Yeah.
And we can use our voices and our choices to support the kind of music world we want to see.
So what do you say? Let's crank up the volume on independent music and make some noise for a more diverse and equitable future. What do you think? Is this something that resonates with you?
Absolutely. And I think our listeners nodding along right now too. What are your thoughts on all of this? Have you ever thought about the impact of your listening choices?
You know, it's funny. We're talking about independent music,
Right.
but the lines are getting blurrier all the time, aren't they?
But it's a great observation.
Okay.
With these major acquisitions, it really makes you wonder, are the artists signed to these companies truly independent anymore?
It's almost like independent is becoming more of a marketing term
Right.
than a reflection of true ownership and control.
Yeah.
You see artists signed to major labels being marketed as indie or alternative, even though they're part of this massive corporate structure.
It raises some important questions about what independence really means
Yeah.
in today's music industry. Is it about having creative control over your music?
Right.
Is it about owning your masters and reaping the full rewards of your work? Is it about the freedom to choose your own partners and distribution channels?
Or maybe it's a combination of all of those things.
Could be.
Maybe it's a spectrum with different levels of independence,
Yeah.
depending on an artist's specific circumstances and goals.
Right. And how do those definitions of independence change
Yeah.
when you're operating within the ecosystem of a massive corporation like Universal? Are you truly independent if your success is ultimately tied to the decisions of executives who may have different priorities than you?
It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it?
That is,
You're technically independent,
yeah,
but you're also part of this larger machine that has its own rules and agendas.
exactly. So where does that leave artists?
Right.
How do they navigate this complex landscape and maintain their artistic integrity
Yeah.
while also trying to achieve success in a system that's increasingly controlled by a handful of powerful players?
It's a tough question. There's no easy answer.
No.
Some artists may find that partnering with a major label gives them the resources and support they need to reach a wider audience. And
Well-
that might be a trade-off they're willing to make.
Absolutely. For some artists, having access to a major label's marketing muscle, distribution networks, and financial resources can be a game changer.
Right.
They might not have the same level of control, but they gain access to opportunities that would have been difficult, if not impossible, to achieve on their own.
But for other artists, that level of control might be non-negotiable.
Right.
They might prefer to stay completely independent,
Yeah.
even if it means a slower, more challenging path to success.
And that's perfectly valid. There's no right or wrong answer here.
Right.
It ultimately comes down to what's right for the individual artist
Yeah.
and their goals.
Yeah.
What are they willing to compromise on? And what are their non-negotiables?
I think the key is for artists to be aware of the trade-offs involved in any decision,
Yeah.
to go into any deal, whether it's with a label, a distributor, or a manager, with their eyes wide open and a clear understanding of what they're gaining and what they might be giving up.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's crucial to have a strong team in your corner, managers, lawyers, and advisors
Right.
who understand the industry and can help you make informed decisions
Yeah.
that align with your values and your vision.
And it's not just about the legal and financial aspects either.
Right. It's about protecting your creative freedom. Artists need to make sure they're not compromising their artistic vision or their values
Yeah.
in order to fit into a particular mold or please a particular executive.
You're absolutely right. It's about staying true to yourself and your art, regardless of the pressures of temptations that might come your way.
And this brings us back to the bigger picture. It's not just about individual artists navigating this landscape.
Right.
It's about the health and diversity of the broader music ecosystem.
Exactly. A thriving music scene needs a balance. We need major labels, independent labels, and self-releasing artists all contributing to the mix.
Yeah.
Each plays a vital role in shaping the soundscape
Right.
and ensuring that there's a platform for a wide range of voices and perspectives.
If one segment of the industry becomes too dominant,
Right.
it can stifle innovation and limit the range of music that's available to listeners.
For sure.
We don't want to live in a world where only a handful of companies dictate what we hear. I agree. And that's why it's so important to support that diversity. It's about being conscious consumers of music.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about actively seeking out and supporting artists and labels that align with our values. It's about going to concerts by independent artists,
Yes.
buying their music directly from them,
Yeah.
streaming on platforms that pay artists fairly,
Structure.
and spreading the word about the music we love.
And it's about advocating for policies and practices
Right.
that promote fairness and competition in the music industry.
Right.
By supporting organizations like Impala, by contacting our elected officials, by being informed and engaged citizens,
Yeah.
we can all play a role in shaping a more equitable and vibrant music ecosystem.
Well, I think this deep dive has really opened my eyes to the complexities of the independent music world.
Yeah.
It's clear that there are some serious challenges ahead, but there's also a lot of hope. What do you think?
I agree. It's a fascinating time to be a music lover. The industry is in flux. The power dynamics are shifting.
Yeah.
But there's a real sense that anything is possible.
Right.
Independent music is a force to be reckoned with.
It is.
And it's up to all of us to support it, celebrate it, and ensure that it continues to thrive.
Beautifully said. So as you queue up your next playlist, take a moment to think about the artists behind the music. Where are they in their careers?
Right.
What challenges have they faced?
Yeah.
Who are they signed with? And most importantly, how can you support the music you love in a way that aligns with your values?
Such a great question.
Keep those questions in mind and keep diving deeper.
Yeah.
Until next time.